In a small town, a young girl with a passion for the arts grew up. She lived a simple life, dreaming of adventures before her life took an unexpected turn. At 15, the young poet and musician fell for an attractive older man in his 40s, Felix Vail, who arrived at a Houston garage sale on his bike. They started traveling after she finished school and got married when she turned 17. However, in 1984, just a year later, Craver disappeared. Her husband's uncertain story left many questions unanswered. Annette's relatives last saw her on October 5, 1984, in Sulphur, Louisiana. Her spouse, William Felix Vail Sr., known as Felix, informed the neighbors she'd left to see friends in Denver, Colorado. She's not been heard from since. On October 22nd, Annette's mother filed a missing person report. Felix claimed to the police that Annette had mental health issues and had voluntarily left, catching a bus from St. Louis, Missouri to Mexico, instead of Denver. It's uncertain if Annette ever made it to Mexico. Previously, as a teenager, she'd visited Mexico, fallen for a local man, and attempted to bring him back to the U.S. with her. The authorities were skeptical of Felix's account of his wife's disappearance, partly because the bus station he mentioned didn't exist. However, they didn't find any signs of wrongdoing. By December 1984, Felix sought a divorce, blaming irreconcilable differences and abandonment. He donated all of Annette's personal items and clothes to charity, claiming she wished to vanish. Again, she's not been heard from since. Felix's first spouse, Mary Elizabeth Horton Vail, perished in Louisiana's waters in 1962. Images of Felix and Mary accompany this case summary. They had a son, William Felix Vail Jr., nicknamed Bill. Felix alleged that Mary had accidentally fallen into the Calcasieu River during a nighttime fishing trip, but Mary had a fear of water. That river stretch wasn't fit for fishing, and the fishing lines were still found in Felix's fishing gear. He was taken by the police for murder, kept for 3 days, and then let go without any charges, and the case didn't go to a grand jury. Felix had a life insurance policy worth $150,000 on Mary, but only got $10,000 from the insurance company because there were questions about how Mary died. More than 50 years later, a medical examiner looked at the autopsy report and saw signs of a crime, like big marks on Mary's neck and legs and a scarf stuffed in her mouth. The examiner thinks Mary was choked on purpose and maybe hit with a boat paddle before she ended up in the river. After Mary passed away, Felix moved to California with his son. In 1970, he started dating Sharon Hensley, who was from Bismarck, North Dakota. They used drugs, and that year, Bill, who was just 8 years old, went to the cops and said his dad had drugs at home, made him take them, and that he heard him admit to killing Mary. Felix got caught for having drugs, not taking care of his son properly, and child abuse because of what Bill said, and the boy was sent to live with Mary's parents. He admitted to the drug charge and got 6 months in jail. The police in California told the cops in Mississippi about Bill's story, but they still didn't have enough proof to charge Felix for Mary's murder. In 1973, Hensley went missing. It took over 35 years before she was reported missing. Felix's account of Hensley's disappearance echoed the tale he told about Annette. He claimed Hensley destroyed all her ID, expressed a desire to vanish and leave everyone behind, and departed with an Australian duo to circumnavigate the globe. She remains unheard from. Annette encountered Felix at age 15, and he was 44. They wed when she was 17. A mere 4 months after turning 18, Annette received $98,000 from her late father's life insurance. Rose transferred her property to Annette for $7,000. Post-high school, Annette and Felix embarked on a nationwide bike journey. Months after, Annette came back to her mother, Mary Craver Rose, sans Felix. She disclosed she had terminated a pregnancy, wished for a divorce from Felix, and intended to stay with her mother. She secluded herself in a room at her mother's place, avoiding everyone, including Felix, who persistently tried to reach her. Felix eventually visited Rose's place, and he made up with Annette. She put Felix on the house's title, and a month later, she removed her name, making Felix the sole property owner. They told Rose to leave. Annette and Felix used the insurance payout from her dad to settle Felix's debts and purchase a vehicle, and they banked $36,000, leaving $41,000 in cash. Felix claimed she took this cash when she vanished. Rose actively sought Annette, reaching out to acquaintances of both Annette and Felix for clues, and even employed private investigators. She learned about Mary's demise and Hensley's disappearance. Felix sent Rose a letter, blaming her for defamation. He alleged Annette's emotional issues were due to Rose's poor parenting, labeled Annette derogatorily, and refused to disclose Annette's whereabouts. In September 1985, nearly a year after Annette went missing, Felix informed her mother that Annette had been in touch. He recounted that Annette said she was in the jungle with 2 men and had given birth. Felix asserted he left Annette at a Trailways bus depot in St. Louis on September 16, 1984, yet family members reported sightings of the pair well after that date. Moreover, no Trailway station exists in St. Louis. There's only a Greyhound station. Felix professed to have gone to Mexico in search of Annette around 1986 or 1987, but his passport records no such journey. He maintained he'd been in regular contact with Annette post-disappearance, yet he never substantiated these claims, and his accounts often conflicted. The police confiscated his 1980s diaries, which contained no mention of contact with Annette. In 1993, the FBI started to suspect Felix as a serial offender after noting it's highly unlikely for one man to have a wife and girlfriend disappear, and another wife die under odd conditions. They spoke with a former partner of Felix from the 80s who reported his violent behavior and her subsequent restraining order. The FBI, however, wrapped up the case the next year due to insufficient evidence for charges. Felix and Mary's son, Bill, succumbed to cancer in 2009 at 46. He left a video detailing what he alleged his father said about Mary's death. A neighbor from the 60s recalled Felix cursing his first wife, claiming he ended her life because she was expecting. The cases of Mary's death and the vanishings of Hensley and Annette were revisited in 2012 when reporter Jerry Mitchell published articles on them. Felix, residing in Mississippi then, fled when Mitchell sought an interview about Mary and the missing ladies, abandoning some possessions. In May 2013, Felix was detained in Texas, accused once more of Mary's 1962 murder. During his trial, his defense claimed Mary's passing was accidental, but 3 acquaintances testified Felix admitted to the crime, and 2 pathologists classified Mary's death as a homicide. In August 2016, over half a century since Mary passed away, Felix was found guilty of murder. He received a life sentence in jail with no chance for release, and his guilty verdict was confirmed in 2018. During a talk with KPLC-TV, Felix stated that both Hensley and Annette were still alive, and he knew their location but refused to disclose it, saying they're under my own witness protection. In 1997, Annette's mother organized a service to remember her. The police in Tulsa, Oklahoma are looking into her disappearance. It's believed that she met with foul play because of the situation surrounding her case.